Benji, I must ask your thoughts about the hotel quarantine plan. As of today, it is not a plan, it is a reality. We're going to have hundreds, maybe thousands of people flying in today who are going to have to get themselves into quarantine, pay £1,750 for 10 days, as well as obviously PCR tests before and 2 after. Lots of talk that Heathrow wasn't ready. What are your expectations in terms of how well this plan's going to go?
Oh, initially not very well at all. It might improve, but I think that that's a good starting place with actually how things tend to be planned throughout this pandemic. Is that the reality is Heathrow Airport have come out and said that they aren't necessarily prepared for this situation. So that you can just imagine, therefore, what the state will be with the hotels themselves, and there's not going to be the sort of required amount of social distancing at the airports. We've already seen that, and then you'll have any kind of issue, any number of issues around sort of sanitizing the rooms, cleaning them after people have been using them. I ultimately look at this and I see it as a measure that I think a lot of people would have liked to have been brought in at the start of the pandemic, a year ago, say. Ultimately now it looks to me like quite a futile effort. And I would say that, sort of mentally, the government would like to be seen to be doing something so that people feel a little bit better about it, and that even if there was some sort of trade-off, even if there were benefits to be found, tangible benefits to be found, that there might be a trade-off with, for example, more people being able to go out into broader society and do things. But from what we've seen, that isn't the plan. No, so I don't really see what the benefit is at this stage.
Yes, we shall see. Well, let's try and find out from Simon Calder. He's travel editor of The Independent. He's right now live at a quarantine hotel at Heathrow. If you're only listening at the moment, if you watch, you can actually see where he is. I have to say, this is an extraordinary bit of footage. Are you actually inside the hotel, Simon?
I am inside a hotel.
Near room 203.
World, Julia.
Oh, you're actually in one of the rooms.
Well, yes. Now, I'm not quarantining, okay? Here's exactly what's happening. And I'm just moving into the bathroom, which is quite spacious. You've got a shower, not a bath. The room itself, it's sort of dominated by a very comfortable queen bed. But actually, I can't imagine. It's fine for a few hours if you're just getting an early flight, but actually spending 11 nights here, 12 days, I really don't know that I would be particularly keen on doing that. I asked for a runway view. I'm about 200 meters from the northern runway at Heathrow. But like quarantinees, I was given no choice. So I've got a lovely picture of West London gloom and the car park. That, Julia, is where people are going to be spending their fresh air breaks, which are going to be, I think, very valuable. The window doesn't open. But that's where the biggest risk is going to be.
But this is extraordinary. Look, I'm looking. It's a perfectly nice hotel room, and if you arrived in that at the end of a flight, before you've got another flight, or even just sort of staying there for a couple of days while you're getting some work done, fair dues. But if you are stuck there and that's it, you're not allowed even like to go to the bar or go to the restaurant to get breakfast or anything. That looks like an unpleasant experience. Surely, though, there's nobody who's going to be flying in to Heathrow or any other airport today or any time in the near future who isn't absolutely on essential travel. Everyone was given enough warning, frankly, to get back to Britain before then. How many people are they expecting to fly in today? Yesterday, the Heathrow bosses said they're not ready.
No, Heathrow is extremely concerned about the amount of time it is going to take. And that sort of makes some sense because you're going to be expected to self-declare. And that means, of course, that you will be having to say, yep, I've been to one of the red list countries. Of course, it's different for Scotland. They are saying, yep, wherever you are, you've got to self-isolate. And therefore, in order to check that you're telling the truth and you haven't just stepped off the plane from Madrid having been to somewhere in South America, say, they have to go through your passport and see if there's any kind of rogue stamps. That's going to take a long time. And Heathrow says we had 5-hour queues before that has even started. And therefore, we're really worried about it. Of course, the other way of looking at it is that, as you exactly suggest, Julia, lots of people have been getting in under the wire, coming in before this takes effect because, well, frankly, I paid 70 quid for this room. Everybody who's staying here is going to be paying £159 a night. That includes a sort of breakfast, although I've eaten the apple and I've eaten the yogurt. The rest of it looked a bit sort of processed and not particularly to my liking. And if you want a drink, well, I'm afraid it's room service prices. So it's going to be quite challenging, I think, for a number of people.
The thing I can't work out is people from those flights are going to be coming in and walking through the same airport and using the same loos and standing in the same queue as people coming from non-red zone, safer countries. I mean, there aren't that many people coming in, but nevertheless, there'll still be thousands of people going through. Presumably, also, if those people are waiting, I mean, I'm assuming they're going to separate those queues. But if you're standing around for hours with the staff and with other people, and even socially distanced in those big halls, you're putting the airport staff at risk. You're putting other people at risk who may not, they've arrived back from a country that's high, maybe a risk country, but they're perfectly clear, they're clear of COVID themselves, but they're standing in a queue for hours with someone who isn't. They're going to get it. I mean, this is a recipe for disaster, surely.
Well, yes, basically. And the unions representing security staff, representing the UK Border Force, are very, very concerned about what it will mean. And of course, the big problem is that you've got an unknown number of people coming in. They've all been mixing on the planes. And if you read the very comprehensive reports that the Australians have done into hotel quarantine, they say, yes, it is pretty tough. You are going to be it's very costly emotionally and physically, as well as financially, of course. But on top of that, you are presenting a risk to hotel staff, to security staff, and so on. And pretty much 100% of all the cases in Australia, as well as New Zealand, are traced to people coming in and then infecting typically security guards.
But again, those cases that's because they locked down their country and closed their borders a year ago. I mean, again, that's a very different situation from the UK, isn't it? And we're going to leave you to the joys of room 203 at that airport in Heathrow. Have a good time. I'm just looking at the video of that. I feel claustrophobic just watching it.